Welcome to the Robby Row Show. My name is Robby Row, and I'll be your host. You are listening to episode 70 with Jared Gaynor. Let's hear a soundbite from Jared.
Just try to give back as much free content as I can because, man, I just 10 years ago when I was in high school, I wish I had this information that's out there now, and I just want to do everything I can to help the next generation.
May I have your attention, please?
Give me a heater.
Now listening to Clear the Mechanism.
The Robby Row Show.
The Robby Row Show.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Robby Row here on another episode of the Robby Row Show, episode 70. That's kind of like a milestone, little marker there. 70. Yeah, that's crazy. I would like to say that I totally saw and envisioned this podcast going to 70 episodes when I started, but to be quite honest, when I first started, I was like, holy crap, this is a ton of work, and I don't know if I'm cut out for it. Well, here we are. So episode 70, my special guest today is Jared Gaynor. Met Jared through Instagram. I think I pretty much say that all the time now. But if you're not following Jared on Instagram, please do so at GSP_training. He does a great job on his Instagram account, his website, and all the social media platforms that he is on, which I will link all in the show notes. Jared does just a great job of, like you heard in the soundbite, just producing as much free content to the public as possible. And Jared and I could have literally had like a 2, maybe even more, 2 to 3 hour podcast. But we cut it off. We had to for viewing pleasure, I guess. Just make it to where it's not 4 days long. Speaking of 4 days long, I don't know why I'm still talking. I could literally just get to the sponsors and then the episode, but I kind of like talking, so I'm going to continue talking and tell you a little bit about where we go into this episode. I first wanted to know Jared's backstory. This is his and I's first conversation like ever. We've exchanged just a few text messages, and I was genuinely curious as well. We talk a little bit about paralysis by analysis, which I love the phrase that he actually uses. We talk about teaching others, how he has evolved as a coach, teaching younger guys, and how he's given back right now from his playing days. He recently, I think it was a couple weeks ago actually, that he had Tommy John surgery. So we dive into his surgery process, his rehab process. He's got a lot of good insights for individuals that are grinding through that rehab process. And it's funny too, because I'm kind of grinding through that right now. And like I said, he's got some really good insights for those who are dealing with that. And we talk about his velocity jump when in his playing career. And I think that provides a lot of valuable insight for the individuals that are listening to this to get insight on how to develop velocity. So definitely I thoroughly enjoyed, I think we went for about 34 minutes, but I even told him at the end of the episode, like, definitely want to think about having him come back on, just because, another guy in the industry that I believe is in it for the right reasons and, provides valuable content. And it's a good guy to just talk shop with. So I always enjoy podcasts like this. And that's why I love podcasting, just networking in general. Really just enjoy getting to know and talk to other people that, especially within the baseball industry. But yeah, so with that being said, I'd like to thank a sponsor of this episode. I know you guys hear me talk about them all the time, but Pocket Radar, guys, I don't even know if I have to go into detail as far as the value of having a product such as Pocket Radar handy at all times. Obviously holds you accountable, kind of brings about a higher standard for yourself, not even just as pitchers, man, like just even as like outfielders, infielders, whatever. It always helps having a means to understand where you're at as far as your velocity, because it's no secret that everyone that you see on TV now is a specimen when it comes to their arm strength. It's pretty impressive. I know I speak with personal experience as far as how valuable Pocket Radar has been in my career. I've talked in detail about it on my Instagram. I'll spare you guys here, but so like always, I can get you guys a discount. I will link all of this into the show notes as well if you want to just go to the show notes and click the link. But pocketradar.com, product discount code is Robby10, ROBBY10. You're going to enter that at checkout, save you 10% on your Pocket Radar. All right, so without further ado, let's get to the Robby Row Show, episode 70 with Jared Gaynor. Hope you guys enjoy. For those of you tuning in today, appreciate you guys for tuning in. I got Jared Gaynor on the show. We are on episode 70. Jared, welcome to the Robby Row Show. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So Jared and I are recording this on opening day of 2019 Major League Baseball season. So it's a good day, I think, to be a baseball fan. I feel like it should be a national holiday. Don't you agree?
Oh, dude, I'm completely on board with that. I've been saying that for years now. It's got to happen eventually.
It has to, because I mean, I don't want to say all the other holidays that we do celebrate are less important, but I feel like this one is definitely right up there. You know what throws a wrench in it, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, is what do you think about the whole technically this not being opening day? Technically the Japan series was opening day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically it's not, but today just feels like it because everyone's playing. It's all day games, and to me, this is the true opening day.
Dude, I know. I mean, it was the first thing on my mind, dude. I actually went yesterday and bought a dual monitor for my computer. So I had, and I love how MLB TV works, dude. Where you can watch multiple games at once, but it just crushes my Wi-Fi. So I gotta limit the amount of games I'm watching at once. So let's dive in, dude. We spoke a little bit before the show started, and I even mentioned we've never spoken before. I don't really know your story all too well. To put it bluntly, I guess. But I'd love to hear it, man. I mean, obviously you can be as brief or as in detail as you want, but I'd love to get your background. Obviously, passionate about pitching in the game of baseball. So wherever you want to start, dude, take us through your journey in the game of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised out in Phoenix, Arizona. And, always was passionate about baseball. I had two older brothers that played and just wanted to follow in their shoes. And in high school, I was nothing special. I was pretty undersized. I think my senior year, I weighed about 145 pounds. But I was a decent left-handed pitcher and but didn't have any big opportunities at any major universities or Division I schools or anything. So I actually ended up going the junior college route and played JUCO ball for 2 years out in Phoenix at South Mountain Community College. And then after that, I transferred to George Mason University, a mid-major D1 out in Virginia. And that was an awesome experience for me. I had been in Arizona my whole life, and it was just good to get out.
Yeah, get out, yeah. Yeah.
So, I really enjoyed it there and got to pitch in a regional there, which was awesome. Probably still my favorite baseball memory I have as a player. And still in college, I was really nothing special. I didn't throw very hard. I was a low to mid 80s lefty, threw strikes. I was just your typical finesse lefty that you see or hear about, just a thumber that could throw breaking balls for strikes. And I had good college numbers, especially my senior year, but because of my velocity, I didn't get drafted or anything. But I was very adamant about wanting to play at the next level. That was all my lifelong dreams were to play professional baseball and to get in any way I can. And happened to stumble across some independent leagues. I wasn't too familiar with independent ball. I didn't know really what it was. It was nothing like what it, or I didn't think it was going to be anything like what it actually was.
Right. Most people experience that same thing actually.
Yeah, for sure. So after the draft happened, I didn't get picked. I literally just emailed every single team in the Frontier League and every single team in the American Association. And the timing was just perfect. I got a call back from the Wichita Wingnuts, who are actually not a team anymore. Somehow,
Wichita's not a team anymore.
No, last year was their last year.
Holy smokes, dude! They were like the Yankees of the American Association.
Yeah. So,
wow.
I'll go down that path in a second.
Sure.
But yeah, so one of their left-handed pitchers had literally gone on the disabled list the day before I reached out to them. And they called my coach and asked about me, and they saw that my numbers were good, so they were willing to take a chance on me. and ended up pitching there in 2014 for about a month and a half, and didn't do too good my last couple weeks. Ended up getting released, but then finished the season in the American Association with the Air Hogs. And then just kind of bounced around independent leagues for 4 years, and ended up finishing up in 2017 in the Atlantic League and got to win a championship with the York Revolution. So, but throughout all that, I was very passionate about coaching as well. I knew once my playing days were over that I wanted to stay involved in baseball. And while I was playing independent ball, I decided to start a website and a blog, and also started doing some remote training just to make a little extra money. Because I mean, as you know, being a minor league baseball player, independent baseball player, you don't make a whole lot. So
Grinding.
You got to figure out creative ways to make a little extra money. And I figured it was just a good opportunity for me to get some coaching experience and working with some kids. And I really enjoyed that. And I still do that a little bit today with the remote training, but I'm definitely active with writing blogs and try to do that as much as I can. And I really just try to give back as much free content as I can, because, man, I just 10 years ago when I was in high school, I wish I had this information that's out there now. And I just want to do everything I can to help the next generation.
Yeah, no doubt. And for my listeners, we'll make sure to link everything Jared's talking about into the show notes so you guys can go over there and just click it and check it out. But, dude, I want to talk about something that I've kind of experienced as well is even though I guess I would classify like myself still playing, like I'm coming back from lat surgery, which obviously is, behind an 8-ball and everything, but I've taken so much away from like working with the younger guys, right? And like diving into like how to optimize, a delivery or optimize like a routine and all that stuff. And I've taken a lot away from just like I said, like doing that with the younger generation, almost being able to like take a back seat, right, and not worry so much about myself. How much have you taken away from just like working with other pitchers?
Oh, it's huge. Like it's funny when you start teaching and like coaching guys. It's crazy how you start to think about things for yourself, and you're like, man, I'm telling this kid to do this, and I'm actually not even doing
exactly.
that.
Yes, dude. I experienced the same thing.
Yep. So it's I find it really helpful to coach as far as helping you with your own playing, just being able to communicate good and to really think about okay, how should I explain this, what's gonna make the most sense to this kid, and then you start to just do more research online and just trying to grow your knowledge to help the guys you work with, and it ends up helping you as well on the side of throwing for you.
Yeah, and I love what you said about like just the society that we live in, especially like in the baseball industry, man, is there's just so much information, right? Like I think kids with their smartphones and everything, growing up in a day and age where like I feel like 12-year-olds now have iPhones, which is just crazy, and it allows them to be super connected to all of us, right? And that's kind of how what I'm doing started as well, just by like providing that information. So I love what you say about just providing the free information for those who like really seek it. But talk about how kind of that can be like dangerous for like a high school athlete listening, because we almost get stuck in a pattern where we're seeking out so much information, and maybe that information doesn't apply to the individual that's looking for it, right? And it's kind of got to mold it to that specific individual.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, there's just so much information that it can be kind of like a paralysis by analysis. Like you just have so much there. It's like, okay, where do I start? What do I do? Who do I believe? Who's right? Who's wrong? Like there's so many people out there, like trying to, sell whatever they're doing. And, there's whether good or bad, there's just a lot of directions that a kid can go in. And, and I think it can definitely be overwhelming. And that's like why I try to just keep things as simple as I can when I'm explaining things to kids, and like really try to demonstrate that, I don't have all the answers. And I think being willing to admit that and say that you don't have all the answers is a good first step, because, everyone's worked with coaches out there that think they know everything and they think they have it all figured out. And I just think like having the mindset of, I don't have all the answers, but I'm learning and I'm growing. And, and if you ask me something and I don't know the exact answer, I want to be honest, and I'm going to try to find a way to help you in that way. So, I think keeping it simple with kids and, really trying to say what makes sense. Because at the end of the day, like you can say something to them and they can go around the internet and look up exactly what you just said. And so I think just, having credible information and just having that growth mindset goes a long ways.
Oh, dude, I love it, man. And you're so spot on too, because like we talked about a little bit before we hopped on or hit record, was like everyone's different, right? Like everyone's like body's capacity is going to be different. Like everyone's strength levels are going to be different. And like we can watch all the video. Like I don't know how you are, but I love just like watching other pitchers and seeing how they move and seeing what they do efficiently and all that stuff. And it's like, but I'm still not going to take like, for Max Scherzer, for example, who had 12 punchies today, side note, and say like, hey, little Billy, you should throw exactly like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's so much more of the finer details and like really understanding the individual's capacities and like molding certain types of cues or whatever it is to that. So I love what you said about that, man. And I try to preach that as much as possible and just knowing that, baseball is not black and white. Pitching, quote unquote, mechanics is not black and white. Like there's going to be a lot of trial and error periods, and you just got to grind through it. I want to go back to kind of your route because I saw on a post you just made recently something about a year ago in that specific date of the post you had UCL surgery.
Yeah, I had Tommy John back in 2018.
Oof.
And so yeah, I'm just about a year out, or I'm just over a year out from surgery. And so my career, I was almost done playing in 2015. I was in the American Association with the Salt Dogs. I played for half the teams in that.
Hey, I was a Salt Dog.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
What year?
Beginning of 17, and I got hit with a comebacker and missed the year.
Oh, yeah. I was there to open up 2015, and man, I got off to a terrible start, and got released, and I didn't get picked up the rest of the season. And I honestly thought I was done playing. I didn't want to be done playing, but like no one wanted me.
Right.
So. And I just wasn't throwing hard. Like I was 83, 85. And, if you make mistakes throwing 83, 85, it's going to get hit.
Yeah.
So
that's a good league, dude. Like American Association, I don't know why more guys don't get picked up out of there, dude. It's impressive.
Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, so that off season, I found out about Driveline. That was the first time I had heard of them. I had done weighted balls before. Like I had done Tom House's stuff a little bit in college, and I didn't really see any jumps from it. But Driveline, I was curious about, and I was coaching at a high school at the time, and I was looking for something to do with my high schoolers, but I wanted to like test whatever I was going to do first on myself.
Sure.
And I just did Driveline's like free 6 or 8 week program. During the winter of 2015, and I jumped up like 5 miles an hour in those 2 months. Like the first time I hopped on the mound, I was 87 to 89.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can still pitch. And so that off season, I started calling people again, and still nothing really. Like some teams were willing to like give me some tryouts. So I went to the Frontier League tryout, like the big tryout with 500 people there.
Right.
And made it to like the second day, but I didn't get picked up out of there. And there happened to be a newer league starting up in Michigan called the United Shore Professional Baseball League. And ended up playing there for all of 2016 and continued to like really buy into weighted balls and plyo balls specifically. And just I saw big adjustments to my mechanics, and I completely bought into it. And by the end of my career in 2017, I was topping out at 91 and living at 87 to 89. Damn. And so it was a huge jump. So like ever since then I was a believer. But in 2000 the offseason of 2016 to 2017, when I ended up getting hurt, I actually got hurt in the offseason training doing a pull down. And I people have asked me, like, do you think it was because of the weight of balls that you got hurt?
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, sure. The easy answer is to say, yeah, it was because I was doing it when I got hurt. But I think it's so hard to pinpoint exactly what causes injuries. It could have been the workload I did my entire career when I'd throw 130 something pitches in a high school game and then throw 4 days later, or in college, I'd, throw the same thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I threw, almost 400 innings in my college career. So it's like, the workload plays a factor, how you feel on that day, if you're fatigued and you're throwing through it. Like there's so many factors, but so I don't think it was necessarily quote unquote because of the weighted balls. But I've definitely adjusted the way I use them. I was using them pretty intensely. I don't know if I'm all for like the full blown run and guns anymore. Mm-hmm. I still think there's value in pull downs. But I teach guys just to do it with just like a shuffle, like more of like an outfielder making a throw or a crow hop. Just with the full speed run and gun, like I feel like too many things can go wrong from a timing standpoint. So I tend to stay away from those. But ultimately, everyone's going to be a little bit different on what works for them. And, I was at the point in my career where I knew I had to make another jump in velocity to keep playing and to hopefully get an affiliated ball. Because that's obviously every independent player's goal is to get to affiliated ball or back to it if they were already there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just really aggressive with my training, trying to make that extra jump to maybe add a couple more miles an hour.
Yeah, but my thing, dude, is like you have to.
Yeah.
It's no secret anymore. That you turn on a big league game and you're not seeing like the mid upper 80s. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's like I know a lot of people kind of harp on like, oh, well, this XYZ got you hurt. Well, it's like, dude, like look in the mirror and kind of self-evaluate where am I at, right? And if your goal is to freaking play an affiliated ball, because I was in that same boat too, man. Like I got released by Pittsburgh and I was like messed up. I was like 85, 88, like, coming from usually a hard thrower. And that offseason, I was like, yo, I got to freaking up my training, because if I don't hit this number or whatever, then you're not going to, no one's going to really bat an eye. So that's I'm pretty passionate about that too, because, it all comes back. It's take it with a grain of salt, but velocity does play like a huge important role, in like getting looks, getting seen.
Absolutely.
So let's dive into. I want to stick on that topic, dude. Like, what would you say to a high school or college player that is going through that Tommy John process? Because that's a grueling process, right? Like, no one wants to have that. So, like, what would your words of encouragement be to that person?
I think the important thing is to set short-term goals, obviously long-term goals too, but have short-term goals throughout that rehab process, because it's so easy like to let your mind wander, be like, man, I got to wait a whole year before I'm fully 100%. And like you lose track of, what's important right now. Like it might be right now, what's important is me getting my range of motion back in my elbow right now. Maybe it's getting, my forearm strength back up, like whatever those goals are leading up to, ultimately throwing full speed again. Like you have to focus on those and set those goals and try to achieve whatever it is, in short-term increments. And I think that's going to set you up for success down the road, because you can't skip all those little things that are boring where, I'm sitting there doing little forearm exercises, doing a little range of motion drills. Like it sucks, but like you have to do it. If you want to get back to where you were, those things are important, or else you're setting yourself up for failure down the road.
That's so true, man. And I love what you say about short-term goals too, because like we're all athletes. We all have that sense of like competition within us, right? Like that inner competition. Right. So like if we're showing up to PT every single day and like we know that we have 8 to 12 months before like we're out there like competing again, we can like do ourselves a huge disservice mentally, right? I mean, I talk about that a lot, like how mentally draining a rehab process is, man. And I'm on my second one now, and it's freaking tough, dude. But definitely, I think short-term goals is huge, man. Like the littlest things, it could be the littlest things, but if once you reach that goal, it boosts that inner morale that you can have, and kind of makes you start fighting for more and more. Definitely love that, dude. All right. So I want to, I know just looking at your Instagram, you have a lot of stuff on like routines, and I'm like the biggest routinist, dude. I can like talk about this stuff all day. So we'll start with like a starting pitching routine. You said you were a starter too, right?
Yeah. Throughout all of college, I was a starter. And then about half of my pro career, I was a starter.
What would you say is like the optimal starting routine? That's, again, say like a high school kid, college kid listening to this, like, well, what are some things, maybe little nuggets that they can take away from what your optimal starting routine would be?
Like the day of a start, or like the week leading up?
Shoot, man, like shoot for like a 5-day rotation, like the whole week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, let's start with the day after a start. Day after a start, I like to have guys throw the baseball still. I think it's important, like, to get the arm moving a little bit, even if you are a little bit sore. Like, I'm a big fan of Alan Jaeger, and like me and Alan have talked about this before. Like, you don't necessarily know how you feel that day until you pick up the baseball. So like, don't automatically write the day off because your shoulder's a little sore. You just feel a little sore the next day. But I will say, I like to have guys and myself keep the intensity a little bit lower that day after, and really just think of it as like a therapy session. Like I'm just providing a little therapeutic throw-in for my arm to get some blood flow going. And that day is also a really big arm care day. Like I crush bands the day after a start. A lot of band work, a lot of shoulder stability work. And then also from a lifting standpoint, the day after a start is a lower body lift. So really focusing on the bigger lift, squats, deadlifts, lunges, whatever your routine is for that day, or for your lower body, make that be your biggest lower body lift the day after a start. And then the following day is an upper body lift day. Because I don't like to do it the day after because you are still a little bit sore and beat up. Like I like to give yourself, 48 hours from your start before doing full blown upper body lifting. And then from there, throwing wise, some guys I have, like they like to take that day off, like to make it their day off. Which is totally fine. So if they want to take the day off, they can. If not, I like it to be like a hybrid day. So somewhere in the middle between a recovery and a full long toss day. And really just, going out to maybe 120, 125 feet. And if they want to do a little bit of a flat ground, as they come in, I'm fine with that as well. And then Wednesday, sorry, I'm trying to think of this off the top of my head.
I know. I was going to say, I apologize for putting you on the spot.
But yeah. So okay, let's see here.
When would you throw the bullpen?
Are we talking for a 5-day routine?
Yeah. So would you go second day pen or third?
I like the third day personally, but some guys, like when I first got to Wichita for pro ball, they liked guys to throw the second day and then also throw a short box the day before your start.
Yeah. I've heard that. Multiple organizations that I've been in have done second day, like mandatory. Yeah.
So like for me, like I don't feel like I'm ready to like give a good bullpen that second day. Some guys are. So I guess it depends on what your goals are there or what your focus is in the bullpen in season. It's a little bit easier when you're in college or high school and you have 7 days between starts. Like you can even have 2 bullpens in between, no problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so bullpen day, if we're going 7-day, say you're a college kid and you start on a Friday. I like the bullpen to be on Monday and then another bullpen on Wednesday. And that Monday one is more of the bigger one. And then Wednesdays can be, more of the short box or more of just a touch and feel type pen.
What about, because this is probably a fairly popular topic too, as far as like throwing in season. I know everyone's going to be different, right? That's kind of, I guess we don't need to really clarify that, but everyone is going to have their own little type of routine that brings about the best in them, I would assume. Are you for, the guys that are going out and long tossing and doing their pull downs and all the stuff that you would typically maybe see more of off season and doing that in season? Like what type of guy would you have been, or are you? And then what do you kind of teach?
Yeah, definitely long toss. I think, the extension phase of long toss, like getting the air into the ball and stretching it out to max distance, I think is really important. I want guys on a 7-day, rotation. I want guys to do that at least twice. Definitely on their bullpen day would be one. It could be on both bullpen days potentially. So I really like that. And then also if you want to do, like if guys want to do more of a pull down or like maintain velo, or like do a mound velo session, they can do that on like that Monday session. So if they start on a Friday, that Monday session can be more of, a weighted ball velo bullpen, or it can be, pull downs, and then Wednesday be the regular bullpen. But I do think that not the intensity, but I think the volume needs to be pretty low or moderate. And also as far as the weighted balls, like I don't think they should be chucking necessarily 3-ounce balls or 7 to 9-ounce balls. It's more of just sticking with the 4 to 6 ounce range.
What I started seeing a lot of, I think when obviously like Driveline hit the scene and just a lot of people bought in, rightfully so. Are you for like substituting one of your days, even if you're a reliever, right? Like we haven't really spoke on relievers, but even if you're a reliever going into like your practice setting, are you for like them substituting their throwing program for like maybe some plyo care work, some pivot picks, rockers and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I'm all for that. So I didn't really talk about my coaching path so far, but I was the pitching coach at Arizona Christian, NAI school in Phoenix for 2 years. And like that was a part of all of our guys' routines. And it wasn't like cookie cutter where everyone did the exact same thing.
Sure.
But I was big with guys doing reverse throws and pivot picks before they threw. And then depending on the day, they would do other drills like rockers, walking wind up, step back drill, like really whatever they needed, like we said, once again, everyone's a little bit different and everyone has different needs. Maybe one guy needs to work on lead leg blocking more. Someone, needs to focus on separation. Like everyone has something different. So after those reverse throws and pivot picks, I allow guys to really do things that tailor towards what their needs are.
Dude, you mentioned lead leg blocking, and I think that's kind of a thing that a lot of people are starting to take note of. It being a way to brace and stabilize the force that you transfer.
Yep.
Are there a couple things that you like do as far as maybe some like quote unquote drill work or some personal cues that you use for your athletes?
Yeah. So one drill that guys can do that doesn't even involve throwing a baseball. So like you don't have to, if it's a day where you're not throwing or whatever, you can do some more volume with some medicine ball work. I think med ball work is great for working on movement patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So for lead leg blocking, I like doing split stance medicine ball throws. You can do that, kneeling to a standing position or standing position the whole time. And then also single leg slams are great. And, I think a big thing with, stabilizing that front leg and like guys, you see it really, lock out some of them. I think a lot of players don't know how to hip hinge properly.
Right.
And I think being able to hinge at the hips properly is absolutely a must for sequencing any part of the delivery. Right. I see a lot of guys that struggle with the lead leg blocking, like their hips don't hinge at all. So that's where like the weight room I think is so important. Apart from just getting strong, is just learning how to move properly.
Dude, I freaking love it, man. And that's something that I've been on. Oh, dude, I get on these like mechanical kicks, and it's funny because I say over and over again, I don't want to be like the mechanical guy, because obviously like mechanics can get misinterpreted and stuff. You start moving like a robot. Athleticism outweighs almost everything, and then certain cues, right? So I think it's funny. I just had a guy I was trying to, give some cues to help him out a little bit, and I came to the idea of like it makes sense because I think when we're growing up, we always think like athleticism is balls of our feet, which is right. But you'll see a lot of the times in deliveries that guys, once they start descending down the mound after, coming down from leg lift, they'll come up onto their balls of their feet. So they disconnect from the heel. Then you start seeing like premature rotation. And I think that's like something that, again, I don't want to be like the mechanical guy, but like you said, man, like learning how to hip hinge properly, learning how to apply efficient force into the ground. Like these are all things that can be done in the weight room, can be pretty much like manipulated in that type of setting, right? So then when you get on the mound, it's something that you don't necessarily like have to cue it over and over again because no one wants to be the guy that's just in their head about mechanical cues on the mound. I've been there. It sucks.
No, absolutely. No, and I love what you just said about the heel contact on the ground. I actually just read an article about Wes Johnson, the pitching coach for the Twins.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
That's like his big thing right now with a lot of the Twins pitchers is he's trying to ingrain in their heads to keep heel contact on the ground and drive through their whole foot rather than the ball of their foot.
Yes.
And the reason is just to, to engage your glutes more rather than getting more quad dominant and then getting the sequence getting the delivery out of sequence. So just a little thing like that, just keeping your heel connected and driving through the whole foot rather than just the ball of your foot is huge. Yeah,
and it's funny how you can like break that you can like sequence and break that mechanical thing up and just be like, oh, well, why is this individual going into rotation early? And it could be the littlest thing as far as like, hey, just think more heel drive. And that's what that's what I love. And I'm sure you can attest to that too, is like, that's what I love about like working with other athletes, man, is like seeing like maybe a deficiency within their quote unquote mechanics again. And just being like, oh, maybe just think, this little tiny adjustment. And then all of a sudden, boom, dude, like you see the biggest jumps. And I think that's the coolest thing. Going back to when you started doing driveline and you had your increase in velocity. Yeah. Can you break that down for us? Like, what do you think it was looking back at it now? Was it just you maybe increasing your intent mentally, or was it you actually getting stronger? What do you think it was as far as your velocity jump?
Yeah, so I think it was a combination of a few things. So intent-wise, my intent, that was the biggest thing. My intent went way up because, like I said, I was a crafty lefty. Growing up, everyone told me, I'll just throw strikes. You don't need to throw hard. Like, it's all about just throwing strikes, movement, all that. And I bought into it. And, at the lower levels, if you do that, you're going to get guys out. And then by the time I got to college, I was still being taught that, like, don't worry about your velocity, or the worst thing is that people would say is the velocity will come. Don't worry about it. It's like, well, where's it going to come from? Is it going to come out of thin air? Or what? I'm like, where do I get this?
That's so true.
But the naive kid I was, I believed that. All right, sure, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing then. And I always like lifted, and like I always was passionate about strength training, but I didn't really have anyone that was helping me a lot with it. And my focus was more on, doing lighter weights, high reps. Like I wasn't actually getting stronger really. Like I wasn't lifting heavy weight. And it wasn't really until I was in pro ball, and that's around that same time that I started doing weighted balls, was when I started taking lifting seriously, and I got a lot stronger, especially with the lower body lifts like deadlift. I had never deadlifted until I was 21 or 22, and that was huge. Like just getting stronger with the deadlift, I think, made a huge difference. Then the intent, and then the weighted balls, the pull downs. That was the main thing I was doing, was the pull downs, and my velocity skyrocketed with that, and then it transferred to the mound.
Yeah, what I love about those weighted balls, and I think it goes unnoticed a lot of the times, like outside looking in, not really understanding the underlying stuff. But with weighted balls, man, your body does an incredible job at syncing up, stacking in appropriate patterns when you have more load in your hands. I'm on a counterbalance kick right now. So like loading the glove arm and then maybe loading or underloading the arm, seeing what like your body responds to, man. It's very intriguing. And I think it's cool. Again, going back to the original conversation, was like, it's just so interesting to see how every athlete, like everyone's different, man. Like we all move differently. You give like a drill that totally hit with another guy to someone that's struggling with maybe similar things, and it doesn't hit at all, and it maybe makes them worse. And it's like, wow, I love this game. I love what I do.
I know, it's awesome. Well, there's never a dull moment. Like it's not the same thing every single day. Like there's always something to add or to learn or get creative. And what I try to do with guys when it comes to cues is I try to ask them questions, and like especially when they do something good, I want to find out, okay, what did you feel you were doing there? Like what felt different? What do you think you did that caused that result? And whether like their answer is technically right, it doesn't really matter. But if that's what works for them, now you can use that verbiage for them down the road when they're struggling. You can say, okay, well, you told me before when you felt good, you felt like your thumb was staying down with your glove for a long time. Think about doing that again right now. So like now you can use the verbiage that clicks for them down the road when they're struggling.
Absolutely, dude. And that's what it's really all about, right? Like the individualism, working with a guy. And I think a lot of it comes back on, I know a lot of like high school, college, maybe even younger kids are listening to this. Like it's on y'all too, like understanding your personal cues and developing things on your own, and not just throwing to throw, right? Like having a purpose behind almost, and again, like it's not having a purpose behind like every single throw you make to where you're just mind bottling yourself over and over again. But like when you do throw pens, or you're doing a short box or a flat ground, like whatever it is, like understand certain types of feelings that you have that you can replicate in a game, because we all know, man, like when you get in a game and there's a dude at the dish and the lights are on, like things change, things go faster, and it's sometimes hard to replicate what you did in a bullpen when you're in a game. So yeah, dude, I want to give you the floor now, as far as giving my audience all of the social platforms, websites, and stuff that they can find you at.
Yeah, so I'm really big with Instagram and Twitter. My handle is GSP_training. And I'm happy to interact with guys on there. Like I usually do the questions a lot on my story, or I'll encourage comments on my posts, and like I'll interact with you guys. So if you have any questions, feel free to DM me or email me. My email address is in there as well on my pages. And also my website is also on both of those social media platforms, but it's gainerstrength-pitching.com. And I try to put out blogs every single week. Sometimes I do more than others. Like this past week, I think I made 3 posts on there. So it'll
killing it
from week to week. But if I'm on a kick with a certain topic, I try to let it roll until so I don't forget the information.
Right.
But yeah, so I try to write there, try to provide a lot of content, like you said earlier. I have a lot of routine stuff, and I post those on here. Like I have an in-season starter routine, reliever routine, And then I came out with a high school year-round throwing calendar the other day. So, and I'm going to do a college and pro edition next week.
Dope.
So got that on there. And then I also have an off-season lifting ebook. So obviously it's not the off-season right now, but as the summer approaches, I have that on there as well for you to purchase and to have access to.
Dope. Like, so yeah, for those of you listening, just go into the show notes. I'll make sure to link all that, Instagram, Twitter, website, all that stuff, man. But Jared, dude, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been an absolute blast. Like I said before we started recording, probably definitely have you back on because I feel like there's so many more things that we could talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thanks again for your time, dude. I'll sign you off the air.
All right. Thanks, Robby.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's another episode of the Robby Row Show. I appreciate you guys for tuning in this morning, this evening, this night, whatever it is. I don't know. But thank you guys. If you guys want to go to the next level, go ahead and leave me a review on whatever platform that you listen to my show on. Not only does it help me as a podcaster and learn what I need to get better at, but it also boosts my confidence. And confidence is the key to success. I don't know. I'm just really talking out my butt right now. I'll let you guys go. Have a good rest of your day. Can't wait to talk to you again. All right. See you guys. God bless. Talk to you later.